So the opener is a little interesting. What you're going to do for the opener is you're going to do a Pyroblast precast into a Double Lust Rune of Power. And then at this point on, our goal is to just spend all our Fire Blasts and Pyroblasts. And this is important because of Firestarter. Firestarter is the talent where above 90% things are guaranteed to crit. So what we want to do is utilize this opener here and really get like 8 SKB stacks ideally before like you actually go into your combust. So if you see here, I'm going to be spamming like Pyroblast, Fireblast, and then I'm going to shifting power, generate my Fireblast charges. Make sure you don't cap, right? Use them if you need to as you're generating. And then I'm just going to keep throwing out my Fireblast Pyros. Once you hit 6, you're going to do one Fireblast, Pyroblast, because whenever you Fireball, Fireblast, Pyroblast, you're going to get another Pyroblast, right? So it's like 2. It's like you have to think in pairs, right? Always think in 2s when you're doing these Fireballs. So that's why when I get to 6, I do this Fireblast, Pyroblast, and then Pyroblast again. That'll put me at 8. And now I can go into my Combust, right? This will always be like okay to do. Unless you're like in a really good guild and you're doing like Erenog Heroic or something, maybe you won't get 8 stacks like in the 90% window. But it should be fine. Like that's very rare if it's not. But anyway, you go into your Pyroblast. If you do get a Pyroclasm, you can spend 1, but make sure you're still able to get to 8 stacks even if you spend 1. And obviously the rule of 2 still happens, right? You always want to think in 2s if you're doing a cast. So you're going to Pyroblast to go into your Combust, and then you're going to Combust, Fireblast, Pyro, right? So Pyro. And then at this point here, we enter what's called like the Double Lust Combust. This is very unique to Double Lust, and you don't do this anywhere else. But you actually start to cast Fireballs. The reason you cast Fireballs is basically because we have so much haste that if you try to do Fireball like Scorches, you know, Scorch, Fireblast, Pyroblast, your Scorch will be so fast that you're going to be able to finish the Scorch before you can press Pyroblast. And that's not going to be good because you're going to be wasting heating ups. So instead, in Double Lust only, you can cast Fireballs and Combust. And your entire rotation in this Combust is basically going to be Fireball, Fireblast, Pyro. Fireball, Fireblast, Pyro. And you're just going to keep repeating that. See, Pyro, Fireball, Fireblast, Pyro. And because I'm playing in 2s, as long as I'm staying in an even number, it's okay, right? If I was at like 5 here, let's say I'm at 5 SKBs instead of 6. Then I would think after this Fireball, Fireblast, Pyro, I might need to do like 1 Scorch Pyro or something. You know, because I need to generate just 1. If you do Fireblast, Pyro, you know, after a Fireball, like you're going to waste stacks. But we always think in 2s here. Right, so 8, and then I start casting my Pyroblast because we need to spend our SKB here. Right? We gotta spend our SKB, very important. So Pyroblast, Pyro. And then it's just repeating the same thing again. Now I get a Pyroclasm proc. Now there's different things you can do here. I like to basically cast it if I generated the stack pretty early on in my SKB. Because typically speaking, if you're at 2 stacks or less of your SKB, if you get a Pyroclasm proc, you can usually just send it. It's going to be fine. But any more than that, you can probably get away with saving it. This Pyro here might have been a mistake. I'm not entirely sure. But the reason I wanted to cast it is because I have so much haste right now that I actually might struggle doing the Fireball, Fireblast, Pyro thing indefinitely. Because my Fireblast regeneration rate might not be enough. So instead, with a Pyroblast, it buys me a little more time, so I'll be a little more comfy with my Fireblast charges here. So you can see here, they generate a little bit, just, you know, gives me a little more room. And it's okay, like it's not the end of the world here. I get another proc anyway, Fireblast, Pyro. Now I get a Rune of Power, or I can cast this. If I cast this Pyroclasm with SKB, it will fit inside Combust, because you can see here the number on my weak core tells me 3, which means 3 GCDs left. Pyroblast cast is 3 GCDs. Very good weak core. Make sure you download my weak core package. Shameless plug. But I know that I can fit this. But the thing is, Pyroblasts are really powerful. So we want to buff them. Like if I cast my Pyroclasm here and then Rune afterwards, my Combust will finish before my Rune does. So I'm kind of wasting Rune if I do that, right? So instead I'm going to put up my Rune beforehand. Right? Even if my pyro, now it's 1, right? So you might say, well, your pyroclasm is going to miss your combust. You're right, it will miss this combust, but the thing is, because I have SKB, the spell that activates SKB, which is obviously always a pyro, will always benefit from combust itself, right? So this is a guaranteed crit, right here. So you hit like 2 pyros together, 300k. And then you're just repeating the same thing. Once your double lust is over, you don't want to be fireballing anymore. Now at this point, I have a few options. I have like one and something GCDs, right? So I can either Scorch, Fire Blast, Pyro, or I could Phoenix Flame, Pyro, Fire Blast, Pyro. Let's see what I do. I Scorch, Fire Blast, Pyro. I don't know if I like that for sure. Maybe it would have been better to go into the Phoenix Flame. And the rule for going into Phoenix Flame that I like to go with is, if I rewind a little bit here, the sim will tell you you want a Phoenix Flame when your combustion is 10 seconds remaining, but not just your current combustion, it's your current combustion plus future combustions, right? So if you are at, let's say, 6 SKB stacks, and you have 3 seconds of combustion left, sorry, you know you're gonna get another combustion of 6 seconds. And in that case, it's kind of like 3 seconds plus 6 seconds, 9 seconds, so you're still kind of okay, but that's how you have to think about it. What I like to do, what I prefer to do instead, is to basically just say, I'm going to not Phoenix Flame unless I'm on my last SKB. And what I mean by that is basically, if I'm casting a new SKB, and like the current combustion I'm in is like going to expire before that SKB finishes, or before the SKB starts, sorry, then I'm okay to Phoenix Flame. So, you know, like here, for example, my SKB is at 4. This combustion is going to finish. No way in hell am I generating an extra SKB in this 2 seconds, right? But if I rewind some more, like over here, in this situation, I have 5 seconds left to combust, 6 SKB stacks. So I am going to get this combustion, this SKB. I'm going to fit this combustion, this SKB in my current combustion, right? So what I'm thinking is like, okay, well, I have 5 seconds. I have 6 seconds from SKB. So that's more like 11 seconds, right? So I wouldn't Phoenix Flames here. Instead, you know, I get into my new SKB. And now I'm like, okay, I have 5, 6 seconds, and that's it. There's no more SKBs after this one. That's going to chain on. So in this scenario, I can Phoenix Flame in this SKB if I want to. You know, I still have Double Lust, so I still opt for Fireballing. It might have been better to actually just go for a Phoenix Flames here, if I'm honest. But with Double Lust, maybe Fireballing is fine here. I think it's a very minimal difference either way. But at this point right here, I have, well, I guess I should wait till the GCD is over right here. I have 1.8 seconds, so I can fit 2 instant cast spells, basically, right? So in this situation, I can Phoenix Flame Pyro, and then that's it, my combust ends. Or I can Scorch and go into the other stuff, you know, Scorch, Fire Blast, Pyro. Either one really works. I probably, in hindsight, should have gone for the Phoenix Flame Pyro instead, just because then I save my Fire Blast charge. Because right now, what I instead do here is I Scorch, Fire Blast, Pyro, and I refresh my Feel the Burn, but like, guess what? Right now I don't have any, like, that much damage left. I can do one more Pyro. I do a Fireball here, like, because I have a heating up, or a hot streak, sorry. But like, this Feel the Burn didn't really benefit that much, so maybe it would have been better to Phoenix Flames. Anyway, we exit our combust. I need to spend my Pyroclasm because it's running out, right? So we want to make sure we use it. Also, another useful weak aura. I have, you see this text here, 2.9. This weak aura right here tells me how much time I have left until I have to start casting Pyroclasm, right? Because obviously if you start casting it too late, the buff will expire before you finish your cast, and then your Pyroclasm will not benefit, or your Pyroblast won't benefit. So I Pyroblast, because you gotta use them. Don't waste, never waste. And then I'm just doing my rotation, right? It's very important though, is like, you need to make sure you prep your SKB windows though, right? You don't want to enter your SKBs with too low Fire Blasts. So what I like to say is, at 6 SKB stacks, I like to stay above 1 charge always. At 7 SKB stacks, I like to stay above 2 charges always. So once I'm at 7 here, if this Fireball crits, I shouldn't Fireball. I shouldn't Fire Blast, sorry. So you see here, I'm not gonna Fire Blast because I'm at 7. Because once you Fire Blast, you're gonna be having to go into your SKB. And if you do that, then if you don't have Fire Blast charges, it's kind of bad. So instead, you just Fireball, and you wait for this other crit when you're at 2.5 charges, and now you Fire Blast Pyro. And now when I do my SKB, I'm going to have enough, right? I have Shifting Power here, so I use Shifting Power. This was kind of a mistake, actually. This is a very weird situation, and this might be a good example of thinking to show you something, actually. So, in my experience, after you go into your Combust, after you finish your Double Lust Combust, typically speaking, I like to wait until my Shifting Power before I go into my next, like before I use up my SKB. Like if I rewind here. If I do my SKB, right, like let's say I do my SKB and then a Shifting Power, what's gonna happen is that my Combust is gonna come off cooldown mid Shifting Power, which means I'm gonna lose Combust CDR. Right? Not ideal. And then I'm also probably gonna drop Feel the Burn, right? And then I'm also gonna go into my Combust with low Fire Blast charges because I was using them in my SKB. Alternatively, I could have like not used Fire Blast charges in my SKB, but then that's a bad SKB. Instead, what I like to do is I like to stall out this SKB as much as possible until after the Shifting Power, because look what happens. I Shifting Power, I spend one Fire Blast charge, right, which gives me a hot streak. This is unfortunate because now I'm wasting one SKB charge, but that's okay, I think. But see, now I have full Fire Blast charges, Combust is ready, I have SKB ready, I have Fire Blast to go. I Pyroblast, refresh, feel the burn with a Fire Blast. And then I go into a Combust before the cast ends, and now I have like 18 seconds of Combust, right? So now I have 18 seconds of Combust all together joined up, instead of having them separated where it's bad. This is what I like to do most of the time. After my first Double Lust Combust, I always like to stall my SKB until the big Combust. As long as like, nothing crazy happened, usually you should be able to do that. You don't want to waste more than one SKB charge probably, because you might be wasting too much like value. If you are, you probably just want to like send your SKB earlier than you're shifting. But yeah. And then I'm just going into my normal Combust. Now, in the normal Combust cycles, the non-Double Lust ones, it's basically the same thing. The rule with Phoenix Flame remains 10 seconds or less of Combust. I like to wait until my last SKB, as I mentioned already. And instead of fireballing, you're basically going to Scorch. So you Scorch, you use your hot streaks, and you kind of have to be smart about like how, like, what is going to be your hot streak status after your current spell. So here after my Scorch, if I Fire Blast and I Pyro, what's going to happen is the Scorch is going to crit, the Pyroblast is going to crit, so I'm going to get another hot streak. So I know I'm going to Scorch, Pyro, Pyro, right? Which is exactly what happens. Once again, Scorch, Fire Blast, Pyro, Pyro. And once again, whenever you're doing these casts, you're thinking in twos, right? So if I rewind a little bit here, literally in my mind, I'm at 2 stacks. So already at this point, I know that if I just keep Scorch, Fire Blast, Pyro, Pyro, I will hit 8 stacks perfectly, right? Because I'm working with twos, only twos. You don't always have to work in twos. It's just that if you are doing these casts, you need to anticipate 2 SKB stacks, So now I have 5 seconds left of Combust. I have an SKB. I could cast my Pyro and then do a rune. But if I do that, then what happens, right? My Combust will finish and my rune will still have time left. So instead, you rune first and then you Pyroblast. Make sure you refresh, feel the burn. And now I'm going to Pyro, Pyro, right? Pyro, Pyro. Refresh my feel the burn. Fire Blast, Pyro. And now it's my last SKB, right? We've already talked about this. So now I can Phoenix Flame. However, I have a Pyroclasm proc and I have 3 GCDs. So I could actually Pyroclasm instead. I would probably like to Pyroclasm in this situation because if I don't Pyroclasm here, I'm going to Pyroclasm outside of Combust without SKB most likely, right? Because I'm only at 3 stacks, so odds are this is not going to last. So I should probably here look for a Pyroclasm. Instead, I was a little bit scared that I might not fit it just because I wasn't sure how much GCDs I had left, so I ended up going for the Phoenix Flame. Unfortunate. In hindsight, probably a mistake. And I realize that and I kind of tilt and I do like a random Ice Nova. That was also a mistake, obviously. But good to show mistakes, because I'm not perfect yet with this spec. But see, this Pyroclasm here could have been in Combust, right? And now it's not, which just sucks. So, you know, it's good to show these things. Good to show the considerations that can go in. Now I'm just outside of my SKB, I don't have Combust, I don't have anything special, so I'm just going to be fireballing, right? Remember the rule, when you're outside of your SKBs, you're generating to your next SKB. At 6 stacks, always be more than 1. At 7 stacks, always be more than 2 Fire Blast charges. So I'm just going to fireball. I got 1 proc. I have 1 Fire Blast charge. I could use it if I want to. You know, it was a little early in the Fire Blast charge, so I don't. I end up just fireball piling. And then I'm just going to keep going. I'm at 2.5. I'm at 7. So I should be okay to Fire Blast here. So I Fire Blast Pyro. And now I start casting my Pyro Blast. And now I have my 2 Fire Blast charges, right? So I'm okay for my SKB. So once again, this is a heating up SKB, right? Let me rewind a little bit. I'm casting this Pyroblast with a heating up, right? And this is my SKB, like Pyroblast, obviously. So what's our rotation, right? It's Fire Blast Pyro, Fire Blast Pyro, or sorry, Fire Blast Pyro, Pyro, Fire Blast Pyro, Phoenix Flame Pyro, Fire Blast Pyro, Phoenix Flame Pyro, Fire Blast Pyro. That last Pyroblast, if I had less than 25% haste, that wouldn't fit, which sucks. That's why I like 25% haste. But yeah. My SKB is done. I see I have shifting power already, so I send my shifting power. Question. Do you ever shifting power in Combust? The answer is no. In AoE, you can if you really need to, but ideally you shouldn't need to. In single target, you definitely don't. So you're shifting power, refresh Feel the Burn if you really need to. It's kind of weird, like this is what I'm saying, like there's no hard line rule. I think I do refresh. Do I refresh? Yeah, I do refresh Feel the Burn here. My decision here is that I'm going to cap charges anyway, and I'm at 3 stacks and my Combust is soon. So I'm kind of praying in the back of my mind that maybe after I throw out this Pyro, it's going to line, like I'm going to get a bunch of crits and I'm going to be able to maintain this Feel the Burn going into Combust. But typically, like 99.9% of the time, you never care about Feel the Burn outside your Combust, like ever. Right? It's just in this situation, I was going to cap charges anyway, so it was okay to refresh. But if you're just like playing the game, like without Combust, you do not care about Feel the Burn. Maintaining a 12% damage increase buff is so useless compared to like having an extra Pyroblast in Combust, you know? Like, it's more than 12%. Well, 1 Pyroblast is more than 12%, you know? So yeah, you can see here I even dropped my Feel the Burn and I'm completely okay about this. Now, another scenario. Once again, I'm at 7 SKB stacks and my Combust is ready. Do I just send Combust here? I do not like sending Combust here. My rationale is this. If I send my Combust here, then I'm going to be casting a 3-second Pyroblast in Combust, right? But the problem there is like you losing 3 seconds of Combust, which is like a quarter of my combustion, when I could have just delayed it a few seconds and gotten my 8 SKB stack, right? So you'll see here my combustion's ready and I don't send it. Instead, I wait until I get my hot streak, and now I have my SKB. So now the 3-second Pyroblast for SKB I can do before the Combust, right? Now, very important about this. Remember, you have to press your Pyroblast before the end of the... You have to press Combust, sorry, before the end of the Pyroblast cast. If you get SKB, if you activate your SKB and then press Combust, your SKB will literally just disappear. Right? Like, when you press Combustion, it basically sets your combustion timer to 12 seconds. But if you SKB in Combust, it will add 6 seconds. So you never want to press Combust while you have Combust. You only can add. So instead here we Combust before the cast ends, and you know SKB like applies the duration after the cast ends. So by combusting before the cast ends, then what happens is, look, I press Combustion, I get the 12 seconds. Cast ends, it adds up to 17, right? If I combust it after, it would just be 12. Which would have been bad, right? Anyway, I go into my Combust here. I get a Pyroclasm at 2 SKB stacks. 2 or less, we just send our Pyroclasms, right? Because the odds of it like stalling is very low. Most likely, 2 things are going to happen. Either you're going to get 2 Pyroclasm charges, in which case you'll send 1 anyway, which might be a little awkward later on. I might as well send it earlier. Or you like, it's gonna run out the duration before you get to 8 stacks. So we just send our Pyroclasm. And then yeah, just normal gameplay, right? Scorch, Fire Blast, Pyro, Pyro. I'm at 6, so I know as long as I keep playing, I'll be okay. But I ended up going for a Fire Blast without a Scorch, so I can Rune instead. Right? Let me replay that a little bit. See, I do that Fire Blast because I want to get my Rune up ASAP, right? So I Rune, Scorch, or sorry, Pyroblast, Phoenix Flame. Why do I Phoenix Flame here? I want to cast an instant cast ability so that I can get my 8th SKB stack without wasting any, right? If I do a Scorch, then I'll have to like Scorch Pyro without a Fire Blast, and if I do that, my Feel the Burn might get really close to expiring, and I don't like that. I'm in SKB range, I'm in Phoenix Flame range, sorry. 3 seconds left. My next SKB is ready, so 3 plus 6, 9. I'm okay to Phoenix Flame here. So I Phoenix Flame, I Pyro. Funnily enough, because of my Phoenix Flame, my Feel the Burn actually runs out, which is what would have happened if I Scorched anyway. Now that I mention it, I guess. So this is the problem. This sometimes will happen. Maybe I shouldn't have gone for the Scorch Fire Blast. Maybe I shouldn't have gone for the just Fire Blast Pyro. Maybe I should have done a Scorch in hindsight, right? Just losing out a bit of my Runa power. Actually, that is probably the better play. So, there's a lot of small things to this spec. I end up wasting an SKB stack. Good to show a mistake. And now because I dropped Combustion, my Fire Blast CDR is worse because I'm not in Combustion anymore. So this Feel the Burn might drop. Luckily, I get a Fervent Flickering proc right before, and I get to refresh it. But holy, that was close, right? Okay, now I have Pyroclasm. Another decision. Do I Pyroclasm? If you're thinking to yourself, yes, I don't blame you, but I wouldn't Pyroclasm here. Why not? The reason I wouldn't Pyroclasm here is because my Rune of Power only has 2 GCDs left. If I Pyroclasm, it will not finish before my Rune of Power expires. So I'd be effectively killing 3 seconds of Rune of Power if I start casting a Pyroclasm. Instead, I run the risk of wasting a Pyroclasm proc. So I go for the Phoenix Flame, and then I, Fire Blast Pyro. Well, I had to do a Scorch because I was not doing anything. Luckily, I don't waste my Pyroclasms, thank God. So I start casting one, right? I cast one, and I knew that I had to cast another because otherwise it wouldn't fit in time. So I had to cast another one. Personally, whenever casting Pyroclasms, I like to always convert heating ups to I always like to convert them to get the Feel the Burn because Feel the Burn for Pyroclasm is very powerful. Anyway, yeah. Now I'm in my pre-SKB build-up phase. At this point I'm thinking, okay, I'm low on Fire Blast charges. If I Fire Blast right now, I'm going to screw myself over. Instead, what I could do is I could Fire Blast. I could Fire Blast Pyro, but then I'll have to Shifting Power to get my charges back. So that's kind of what I do anyway. I Fire Blast. See, now I do a Fireball Pyro. And now my Rune is up, so I'm going to cast my Rune before my SKB. I do a Scorch I do a Fire Blast to refresh. This might have been a mistake. I'm not entirely sure. If you think about it, I could let my Feel the Burn drop and do a non-heating up SKB. But the thing is, a non-heating up SKB has one less Pyro in it. Instead, I like to refresh my Feel the Burn, and then I get a heating up SKB instead. So I go into that. I Phoenix Flame Pyro, Fire Blast Pyro. And yeah, I mean that's the issue with what I did. I had to cast a Scorch that basically didn't fit, which was a mistake. And now it's super awkward as well. This is kind of the scenario I was talking about earlier, where I just did an SKB, my Combust is back. Now what do? I have no Fire Blast charges, and I need to go into this Combust. So I go into this Combust with a Pyroclasm, which was at least something, but I don't have Feel the Burn right now. But, it's a little awkward. So what if I rewind? Let's see what I could have done before my SKB. I'm at 7 stacks, and Combust is 45 seconds away. It's quite far, After my Combust, or after my Shifting Power, I'm still at 29. I can't really stall this SKB out, so I kind of just have to send it, right? What I should have done maybe is I should have played more conservative with my Fire Blast charges and been smarter. So this Fire Blast was actually bad. I should have just gone for a Scorch. Because doing that Scorch would have probably saved me a Fire Blast charge, right? Instead, I end up dumping more right before my Combust, so that was a mistake. Yeah, just a mistake there. But good to showcase, you know? We combust before our pyroclasm to buff our pyroclasm. Yeah, just like using my pyroclasms because I was low on stacks. My rune power is low, so I do my Scorch Fire Blast Pyro, and now I'm at an even number, so I'm now back to thinking, okay, I can do casts again, right? I have Pyroclasm, my Combust is ending, I'm not gonna fit another SKB, so I might as well send it. I have 3 GCDs, so I just go. I refresh my Feel the Burn right before it ends. Boom. I get both of those in, and now I'm doing this, right? Yeah, I mean, I could watch this, but this video is going on really long already. I'm gonna have to cut it out a little bit. As you can tell, there is so much nuance to the spec, and it's really not easy to play. Really not easy to play. So I hope this has helped. I hope you got around to sticking to this. Um, I'll try and make more fire content, talk about the analytical stuff more. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace.